I want to show you Alaska. Alaska, as you may not have seen it before, even if you've been there on multiple cruises. Because this is Alaska Land and Sea, a 10-day trip that includes 7 days on a cruise and 3 days on the interior of the final frontier. Come along and enjoy the trip. In rapid fire fashion, I'm going to cover the pre-cruise and the 10 days of the cruise so that you get a sense for what you can actually see on a cruise like this. So we're going to cover the highlights of each day. So who are we anyway? So we're Ken and Ellen, a retired couple who are trying to see as much of the world as we can while we still have the money and the health to do so. We love cruising and we love sharing all we can about it so that you can make the most of your travel window. Our byline is, if not now, when? On this particular journey, we were joined by my sister and her husband, who were celebrating their 40th wedding anniversary, and they wanted us to show them the ropes, as they had never cruised and were convinced that this would be their one and only cruise vacation ever. Of course, after this trip, they're ready to go again. Land and sea trips can be confusing because you can either start from the north and do the land first, or you can start from the south and do the sea first. Our 10-day journey started in beautiful Vancouver, British Columbia, and it ended in Fairbanks, Alaska. Day 0, Vancouver. We flew into Vancouver the day before the cruise, which we always recommend. The airport is surprisingly large, but most people won't have direct flights, and both couples had to make connections. But all of our flights were on time, we joined up quickly, and the customs process was a breeze. We chose a hotel downtown near the cruise terminal, and that's what I'd recommend. The 35-minute Uber ride from the airport set us back about $50 with tip. There are many charming things to see in Vancouver, but our exploration was limited to a hike down to the pier area where we had dinner, and then we took in the sweeping views of the harbor by wandering around the port area. Day 1. From our hotel, we took an Uber ride down to the ship. It took us, once we got to the port, it took us 90 minutes to get on the ship, in part because we were boarding 2 ships at the same time, us and a Holland America ship, meaning there were about 6,000 people sharing the same port facility and the same security processes. The line kept moving, but our rookie guests definitely looked like deer in the headlights at this mass of humanity. We checked out the ship once on board, had lunch in the buffet, we settled into a table at the aft of the ship to watch the departure. We had picked cabins with a connecting door and had the steward open our balconies to allow us to share the space as one large balcony. Once he unlocks it, it's possible to open or close these partitions throughout the trip if some extra privacy is needed. Vancouver is one of our favorite sail-away ports, and you can see why from these pictures. And of course, we used the Princess app to have drinks delivered to us on the aft of the ship as we watched. What a great way to start a cruise. Day 1 takeaway: Vancouver is a fabulous departure port. Friendly, fun to explore, manageably expensive. Day 2, Sea Day. Our first sea day was also the first of 2 formal nights. We spent it getting to know the ship and familiarizing ourselves with a list of 77 activities shown on the daily Princess event listing sheet. As veteran cruisers know, there are more activities available on sea days. We introduced our newbies to the delights of specialty coffee at the International Cafe whilst gazing out at the beautiful piazza, and we enjoyed bounteous lunch selections at the buffet. We took in a comedy show and a trivia game show, then had a fabulous formal night dinner. We had agreed that we would clean up, but not dress up, and what you see here was our attire for the night. I did see one person in a tux that night, and a smattering of sport coats, but we were just fine in the main dining room dressed like this. Day 2 takeaway: formal nights are quite relaxed. Entertainment is plentiful, and it's top-notch. Day 3, Ketchikan. As a town, Ketchikan is noted for 2 things in abundance: rain and salmon. We've done 3 different excursions here. The Vaudeville Lumberjack Show is fun. The tour of the Totem Parks is also interesting and educational. But this year's trip was a ride out on a crab boat, past the historic canneries, to haul in a crab pot and learn all about the crabs and the process of catching them.
Oh, look at that. Beautiful. Good job. All right. And then we'll grab this pot. You can let go of the rope. All right. So with this crab pot, I have one rule, and that is please do not stick your fingers inside of it. These guys. Nail. Nail, that's right. We have that lighthouse shape there on the bottom.
We also saw eagles up close and personal. This was followed by a very fun and tasty all-you-can-eat crab fest. We give this tour 5 stars.
How long have you been here? I've only been here like a week. So, this is a big.
And no matter what tour you take, make sure you stop by Historic Creek Street on your way back to the ship. It's always a delight. Day 3 takeaway. The Ketchikan Crab Boat Tour is the best local excursion we know. Day 4, Juneau. We were in Juneau for over 12 hours. Some anchor attraction here are the whale watching, the Mendenhall Glacier, the Red Dog Saloon downtown, and the cable car with panoramic views of the town and harbor. We managed 3 of the 4, doing the whale watch first thing, then stopped at a Red Dog for lunch, and then we booked a separate trip back to Mendenhall, taking advantage of the wonderful weather. We had the rare treat of seeing whales breach multiple times. Lunch was quite an experience, as you can see here. Now we could have saved money by bundling the whale watching and Mendenhall Glacier, but we didn't know we would have such favorable weather when we initially booked. But it was a fabulous, if slightly expensive, day. Day 4 takeaway. Juneau has the best whale watching, but it is hard to capture on film. Day 5, Skagway. Of the 3 stops, Skagway is the most fun to explore on foot and has the most predictable weather. 2 of its out-of-town excursions are the Musher Camp, where Iditarod dogs train over the summer, and the White Pass Narrow Gauge Railway Adventure. The Musher Camp is a long bus ride, but fun. But this time we did the railroad, one of Princess's highest rated excursions worldwide. It's an exhilarating ride, particularly if you venture out on the platform. A Day 5 takeaway, the White Pass Railway lived up to expectation. It was voted our group's favorite excursion. Before we cover the last 5 days, let me invite you to subscribe to our channel. It doesn't cost anything, it really helps us out. If you click the notification bell, you'll also be notified when we have new videos come out, which is about once a week. The next one will be on the Royal Princess. Thanks in advance. Day 6, Glacier Bay, and another formal night. It's a privilege to cruise in Glacier Bay National Park. Only 2 ships a day are allowed in the park, which is one reason most itineraries don't go there. Cruising is slow and it's narrated. The views are spectacular. At the end of each of the fjords, the ship does a 180-degree turn to allow both port and starboard to see the same view. The weather was slightly damp, typical for the park. The second formal night was highlighted by steak and lobster tail main course. Fantastic! Day 6 takeaway? Wow. Dress warm. Lots of places outside to watch, or you can watch from your balcony, but all are cold. And eat the lobster. Day 7, College Fjord. This is our second consecutive day to watch glaciers. As is typical, low-lying clouds cover the area, giving everything a black and white appearance. We use this day to watch things from our balcony and recharge just a little bit. And we took in more entertainment on the ship. Day 7 takeaway, Don't expect sunshine. Balconies become appreciated here. The cruise ends now. A key feature of cruising is that you unpack once, your luggage travels with you. But for the last 3 days, your luggage will not be traveling with you. So at this point, Princess asks you to divide your luggage, keeping only the things you'll need for the next 3 nights to be transported to each stop, and the remaining luggage to be forwarded to the final destination. We had 2 large bags. The one with souvenirs and dirty clothes went on to Fairbanks. The other traveled with us each day. At this point, I want to make several key observations about the land part of the trip. From Whittier to Fairbanks is well over 400 miles. Princess breaks the trip into thirds, but each one is still a significant journey. On each day, you'll spend the majority of the day in transportation mode, seated either on a train, a bus, or stern wheel paddle boat. 3. Princess owns or leases the train, the buses, the hotels. The 2 excursions are pre-booked. Each day along the route, you get a packet that has that day's itinerary, a map, your room assignment and your key, and luggage tags for the following day. The coordination involved in this is incredible. Number 4, the 2 lodge complexes have a free shuttle system to run year-round and are newer facilities made to look rustic, but with artistic landscaping. Think historic national park lodges as reimagined by Disney. So, day 8, the train to Talkeetna and Princess McKinley Lodge. Be prepared for a seamless transition. You walk off the ship and almost immediately on to the waiting train, where you have an assigned car and seat number. Each car has expansive windows with great views and are served by several people, including a narrator and food attendant. The ride will take you about 6 hours. Most is forest, but there are a few sections where the scenery opens up to magnificent views of the countryside and some surprise wildlife that you can see here. Then a shuttle bus to town and a second bus to take you to McKinley Lodge, where we settled in. It is situated to have a fantastic view of Denali. We had a nice, reasonably priced dinner. On the way to the lodge after dinner, we passed an outdoor area with manned fire pits where an attendant came by and kept all the fires burning for you. We stopped by for a game of cornhole on our way to get beautiful pictures of Denali. Day 8 takeaway, sit back and enjoy the train, but keep your camera handy. Day 9, Denali Princess Lodge. On day 9, we spent the morning on a bus to the second lodge. Once again, we're given an envelope with the pertinent hotel information and room key, plus time to catch the afternoon bus tour into the heart of Denali National Park. Now these buses, contracted through the National Park Service, they're recycled school buses. So this will be the most rustic part of the adventure. We did see some wildlife. We saw a moose and several caribou. But in May, the landscape will be more stark than you might expect. Summer greenery hasn't arrived at this elevation. There are a few bears here because the food is not as plentiful as needed to support them. Day 9 takeaway, be prepared for a whole day of sitting, but rare landscapes, knowledgeable driver narrators, and some short excursions. Day 10, on to Fairbanks. The highlight of the final day comes in the afternoon. An all-morning drive brings you to Fairbanks, and they drop you at the terminal for the riverboat tour, where you can grab snacks or lunch. The tour is a polished operation with a gifted narrator and a superb AV equipment, as the narrator winds up talking with a bush pilot live after he takes off and lands in the river next to us. He also talks with Susan Butcher's husband. Susan is the first woman Iditarod racer, and her husband is still involved in dog training, and they show you a wonderful display of how they train the dogs. Then finally, you come to a young native who illustrates how they harvest and process salmon at what they call fish camp. And then they take you on a tour of the village and have talks. It's a fabulous, fabulous trip. You end with a solid hostel stay and you're home with fabulous memories. Day 10 takeaways. The Sternwheeler ride has been run by the same family for generations. They do it right. The top deck has the best view. Land and sea was my favorite itinerary of our 3 Alaska cruises. Princess coordination is incredible. Everyone should do it if you can. But at the same time, it's exhausting. We could do more than one Alaska cruise every year because it's 80% enjoyment and maybe 20% logistics of travel. The land trip is closer to 50-50. You have transportation, packing and unpacking, finding restaurants, sticking to schedules. Now, I think by all means you should do it, but you just should understand what you're getting yourselves into. When you get home, you'll realize that you have seen more of Alaska in 10 days than the vast majority of people will ever see. Next time, more about the ship, the Royal Princess. Until then, safe travels.